And we're back. We're reading Almost Odis by me, Dusty Thompson. Buy your copy on Amazon and follow along. If you are following along, we are on page 194. The blog dated Sunday, September 16th, 2012. It's not gossip if you're eating. And if you're eating with me, we're always gossiping. That's what we do. I received my email notification from AT&T that my monthly bill was ready to be reviewed. As I have multiple phones on my account, the dad, me, and Peyton, I always double check to make sure no one is going over their minutes or whatever. It's really something of a joke as everybody and their mother in my family's on AT&T, and therefore we do not get charged for calls betwixt ourselves. This has granted us an account balance akin to the money held in the Cayman Islands by unscrupulous politicians. I do, however, have a limit on data usage each month, and my niece Peyton, in her never-ending search for awesome stuff, leaves us precariously close to overage charges. Much to my surprise, however, this month it seemed the majority of user minutes that caused us to dip into our rollover account was the dad. I'm as surprised as you. My father's usual contributions to conversation are a complex series of grunts, burps, protestations of ill treatment, and demand for fried things, and this is only because I am seated directly in his visual path and am the purveyor of said things. When someone visits our home, he beats a hasty retreat unless there is food. Then, and only then, will he begrudgingly entertain people with jokes at my expense while scarfing down as much food as possible to allow social hibernation for the remainder of their entertaining activity. When someone calls him on the phone and it's not his home health aide telling him she'll be late again, or a Pizza Hut delivery person needing more specific directions to our home, he is less than thrilled. He looks at the phone with the same look of revulsion I have for any article of clothing that has snap closures, i.e. Western shirts, coveralls, etc. However, it seems he will talk to his sister Gladys on a weekly basis for up to 40 minutes. I have never witnessed one of these marathon conversations, so I can only deduce that there are a lot of and yeah, and more likely than not, several periods on the phone being placed on the table while he attends to his business of eating, obliterating, and crocheting in that order. Not being overly fond of phone conversations myself, I can understand his aversion. However, his lack of engagement is simply discussing of his lack of engagement is almost humorous. There are many interesting and useful things you can glean from a simple phone call. For instance, my sister just enlightened me to a heretofore unknown three-pronged approach for housing money in one's unmentionables, brassieres to be exact. Mind you, my sister is not the person for whom this is a means of ensuring her money is safe. I prefer FDIC-backed security. However, my maternal grandmother, the sainted Mama Dot, has recently embraced this method of safekeeping for her net worth. Offshore bank accounts are not done by good Christians from the South. Well, if you don't have any money. I'm sure good Christians from the South have offshore accounts, and politicians at least. It seems my sister was visiting Mom and Dot when she was made privy to her idea, the first prong, on how to keep her money safe from those people. Who those particular people were was never really revealed, as my sister solemnly agreed she knew who those people were when Mama Dot's revelation was transferred sotto voce, which is Italian for whisper. After slipping the dinero, Spanish, into her brassiere, French, maybe? Which is, as you may have guessed, the second prong, Mama Dot rose to journey to wherever it is that grandmother will travel when they leave the room and are gone for seemingly months on end. After she left for her sojourn, my sister noticed the money lying on the floor. Apparently, the third and final prong in this approach is actively wearing a brassiere, which was invented a long time ago by a guy who then had the idea stolen from him by a patent thief, if I am to believe the song from the musical Bette Midler stars in inside the movie Beaches, a movie which makes me weep unashamedly and without reservation, not unlike one does when one hears the song The Christmas Shoes for the first time. Seriously, I had to pull over at the side of the road when I could not see through the tears, y'all. That's a sad song. I want to buy his dying mama some red shoes for Christmas. I'm happy that Dad will listen to the stories his sister tells as they give great insight into the human condition. Case in point, recently there has been a bit of drama in their tiny, not even a town. As one who has lived in the boonies for the first 24 or so of my 41 and 7/8 years, I can assure you there's typically drama afoot in these particular necks of the wood, but this latest incident is worthy of a repeat, which he gladly did over morning coffee. It seems his older sister Gladys has a neighbor who had two of her children visiting, one of them for the day, the other for the roughly 32 of 48 years so far. Anyway, there was some melodrama about cigarettes or beer, and someone had a seizure or a wrestling match or a really impassioned game of Twister. There were people on the floor fully clothed. I've learned not to ask for details. And in the midst of a thrashing about, one of the tiny dogs named Tootsie Muffins or Bitsy Boo Boo was frightened and fled through the doggy door. And while she was not feeble by anyone's definition, her friend is close to close enough to Odie to read over its shoulder, so it was with great exertion she raced after Tootsie Boo Boo to ensure that she would not be kidnapped by a hawk. That she moved so quickly out the front door caused great alarm in those involved in the entanglement on the living room floor. Not enough for them to follow her and assist, but enough for them to give pause for a moment or two, resuming their activities. Apparently her fear was valid, as one of her previous dogs, which I believe was a poodle, as it was named Poodle, was abducted by a hawk or a hawk-like creature. Additionally, you don't want your almost octogenarian mother coming to fisticuffs with anything winged unless it's fried on a platter or in a bucket if you're too lazy to cook. I'm happy to report the lady and the dog are fine, but the various members who had been otherwise occupied at the beginning of the story met their karmic fates once they decided to help. I won't get into details, but I can report there were multiple falls into a single mud puddle, an accidental mooning, the loss of someone's underwear off their person or off the clothesline was not specified, and a back porch shower by water hose due to the previously mentioned mud puddle. As someone who has experience with mud, voluntarily or otherwise, never voluntarily, I have never a dirty job. A back porch shower is embarrassing enough when you're 8 years old. I can only imagine it happening at 48. So the next time someone calls and you don't want to talk, go ahead and answer your phone anyway. Odds are the other person doesn't want you to interrupt them as they instigated the call and obviously have something to say. As you can see, some stories simply can't be relayed properly in a text message. And I think we can all agree. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.